Namaste and welcome back to another episode of the Sapient. Today, it's as you can see in my background, right? Um, you know, we are having a lot of changes, and with that change, we have the founders of Flavor Room with us. So, welcome, guys. How are you doing? What's up?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm good. Sutton, you good?
I am well, and we appreciate you having us here today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's get into it, right? Now, what is Flavor Room, right? Because it sounds like a culinary experience.
It's funny you should mention that. So, the Flavor Room is a curated, invite only ecosystem for diverse leaders and entrepreneurs of color. And the reason why we named it the Flavor Room is because we're saying bring your flavor, build your influence, bring your personal flavor, bring who you are. You don't have to perform, try to fake it till you make it, pretend to be something that you are not. We don't care about your follower count, your bank account. We want the real you, the real entrepreneur who is out there doing the thing. So that's why we called it the Flavor Room. And it's a blend of who Lace and I are.
Mhm,
Lace is the culinary genius,
mhm,
right? And we both love food. So we said, flavor, flavor room. This is the room that brings the flavor.
mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Got it. So, where did you find this kind of inspiration to go after this one particular niche, right?
Oh, big questions.
Yeah, the inspiration for that, and we can both answer because it's kind of a story that blends together. So, the
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
inspiration for the Flavor Room came from lived experience and observation.
mhm,
And I think you probably know this as well. Like some of the best things that have been innovated and created came from personal experience,
mhm,
people needing what wasn't there. And so they created it, right? So that's what the Flavor Room was. It came from me early on in my entrepreneurial journey back in 2022, being told, oh, you got to network, you got to go in these spaces and connect with people and blah, blah, blah. And
yeah.
I'm going to these spaces and I'm looking around and no one looks like me. Like everyone's white. Their life
Mhm,
experiences or whatever are very different.
yeah.
And me, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb wherever I am. It is what it is.
Mhm,
And so I kept forcing myself to go to these places and spaces
mhm,
and be involved and really feeling the tension that I'm not accepted,
mhm,
that this is going to be a dead end for me. Putting my nose to the grindstone, trying to
yeah.
do it their way, it wasn't for me.
Mhm,
And then I realized, like, wait a minute, all these people are running these spaces the same way, where it's
mhm,
pack everybody in a Zoom room, go, ring around the rosy, say what you do,
yeah.
and everybody leaves, and maybe you get a coffee chat out of it. So I said, this is really dry. This is boring. With my background in organization management, military, I was like, I can build something that is
Mhm,
100 times better than this. And that's what we've done with the Flavor Room. But I wasn't at the point in my journey to really like bring that vision to the forefront. And so that's where Lace comes in. We've been in
mhm,
each other's orbit for about 3 years, which is the length of time that I held on to this vision privately.
mhm.
And we just happened to be in kind of like a networking challenge together of all places. And I sent her a message and I was like, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? And she's like,
Mhm,
well, I know someone who may be interested in partnering with you because I wasn't even thinking about Lace at the time for a partner. I wasn't even thinking about anybody. I was just kind of putting it out there to see what would happen. And I
mhm.
told her what it was. And she's like, you know what? I'm down. Let's do this. And so in 24 hours, we sold out all of our founding member spots. And we've
Nice.
been growing consistently every month since.
Mhm. Got it. Liz, would you like to
Yes.
add
So,
anything?
well, how I came into all of this, yeah, sure, is the reason I said yes. Why did I say yes to the flavor room? Um, is because I'd been out there doing my thing in the online space within the wellness and spiritual industry. I was a
Mhm,
tech concierge, so I'm doing all the technical VA back things, building in the shadows, thinking I was safe there. and started to notice a lot of the undercurrents of racism and racial bias
Mm-hmm.
within the space that was coming at
Mm-hmm.
me. And it took me a while to actually put two and two together because I thought maybe people are just assholes and I seem to attract them. But that wasn't actually the case. I was actually attracting people who had some serious bias going on that didn't even necessarily realize. Some certainly did. Some certainly did.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like feeling the brunt of it. So I decided I wanted to speak up about this and like share my experiences. And when I did, oh, I was met with, don't talk about that. White people are paying you. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Sweep it under
Yep.
the carpet. It's all in your mind. You're just making
Mm-hmm.
stuff up. Stop being divisive. And this was coming from fellow entrepreneurs of color. And I was like, raw.
Mm-hmm.
This is rough. And on the other hand, I had white folks popping up going, oh my gosh, it's the 21st century. This shouldn't be happening. But I wasn't just complaining. I was saying, look, I want to talk about this. I want to educate on this. I want to help change this. And lots of white folks said, yeah, 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 we're interested. We want to know. And when it came down to it, crickets. So you could just see how it's performative. The right people saying the right things at the right time, but not actually taking the action to make anything change. So I kind of shut up, went back in my box, and stayed there for a little while, sort of marinating on this. So when Sutton came to me with this idea, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Let's go."
Yeah. So let's get back to the conversation that we were having before the Riverside decided to act up. Um, yeah. So you were talking about how like you felt this subtle racism, right?
That's right. That's right. And that was coming from fellow entrepreneurs of color, which was like, well, maybe they were worried about being associated with the brown woman that's running her mouth. I'm not sure what that was about, but it was quite uncomfortable. And on the other side, I had then white folks popping up saying, oh, it's 21st century. I can't believe this is happening. Really sorry this has happened to you. And saying all the things that you're supposed to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
when this sort of shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wasn't just complaining because I'm not one to just sit around and complain. I want to bring a solution. And that's what I was doing at this time as well. I was like, I want to educate on this, want to bring out a little program on this to help people recognize their invisible unconscious biases so we can stop this stuff happening. And everyone's going,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, that sounds amazing. When you bring this out, DM me, definitely want in on that. I'm gonna buy that, I'm gonna join you. So I was like, cool. Went away, made the thing, came back, and crickets. Never sold that program.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how it was just like performative allyship. We're going to say the
Yeah.
right things at the right time, but we're not actually going to take
Mm-hmm.
action to do anything to change
Yeah.
this. Um, so yeah, that was rough. But I went back in my box and stayed there for a bit, marinated on this some more. And when Sutton came knocking on my DM door with this idea, that's why I jumped all over
Mm-hmm.
and was like, I'm coming with you. Like this is for me. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Let's go and do this together. So that's why I said yes to co-founding the Flavor Room.
Got it. And once started it out, right? As certain mentioned that you guys sold out very quickly, right? So what do you think was that one thing that helped you in doing that?
That's a great question. I think it was just moving. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that's a
Everyone's
difficult
frozen.
thing for entrepreneurs to do, is just move.
What is happening
Like
to me?
without having all the answers, without having, a business plan and funding and all the shiny things you're told to have, just having that conviction and moving with it and getting the clarity as you go. I think that is something that helped us and continues to
Mm-hmm.
help us because that's how we continue to operate our business, is just moving and figuring it out as we go along.
Got it. And what's your like kind of initial experience, right? Because when you reach out to people and say, okay, this is what we're doing, of course there are like A to Z kind of reactions, right? Like, like, okay, I'm going to buy this to, sorry, who are you? Right? Like, the whole bandwidth of experiences, right? What was that one major response that you got, majorly, that you felt like, okay, like this is something that's worth putting effort into?
I really appreciate that question, because it's thoughtful, and my answer is going to be two part. Because when I said that we moved with clarity, or moved with,
Mhm.
conviction, just doing it and getting clarity as we go along, what you find when you move like that is you adjust, right? There's a
Yeah.
flexibility, and you're able to
Hmm.
adapt as you go along. And so with
Yeah.
that, when we first started, the people who joined us, we started with
Hmm.
people who were closest to us, people who knew us, right? That we had already a relationship with and reputation. So that's for anyone listening. When you're thinking about
Hmm.
creating something, start with people that are closest to you, that know
Hmm.
you, right? That's going
Yeah.
to be your easiest sales, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as we started to branch out, and getting
Hmm.
to people outside of our orbit, we realized that the flavor room cannot be sold or marketed like everything else like
Hmm.
that, like that's out there, because the flavor room is not an offer, if you will. It's not a coaching program. It's not a networking
Yeah.
thingy. It is an ecosystem. It is a movement, and therefore, how it's positioned, how it's sold, how it's marketed
Hmm.
has to be different. So one of the biggest things, that we saw when, again, we're reaching out to people outside of our orbit and having those conversations before we realized, okay, we need to kind of move differently with this,
Hmm.
was, oh, what are your financial projections?
Hmm.
What are your financial projections for this?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know if that's something I really want to be involved in. I'm in a lot of spaces right now,
Hmm.
and I just don't think this is safe. Why are you doing this?
Hmm.
You don't need to be doing this right now. I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're trying to do, but yeah, this is not for me. And through all of that talk, there were people who were threatened by this,
Hmm.
right? People who were aligned with us, if you will, but when we came out with this, that changed.
Yeah.
Those people didn't want to talk to us, didn't want to be associated with us. There are people
Hmm.
questioning, again, why would you do this? This is
Yeah.
divisive, that kind of thing. But, we've been going strong ever since.
Hmm. Got it. So, okay, let me ask you a marketing question, right? Because I'm a marketer, I'm a digital marketer, and I've been doing this for like around a decade. I'm climbing up to 10 years of digital marketing. Yeah, so when you come up with this concept of this product or this service, right?
Hmm.
And you say, okay, this is invite only, and it has limited tickets. How do you price this?
Mm, that's a good question.
Wow. Hmm.
And that the pricing, even that has evolved, right? Because when
Yes,
we
it has.
started, we said
Yeah.
it's going to be one way. We said, what
Yeah.
was it? It's like $97, right? We
That's
said
right.
Hmm.
$97 flat fee for everyone every month, $97 per month. And then when we got people in, then
Hmm.
we realized that there were people inside of the flavor room that were at different levels.
Yeah.
And so the things that we wanted to provide them did
Hmm.
not make sense for everyone. So then we had
Hmm.
to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, for the people who we have in there and the direction we want this to go, we
Yeah.
need to change our pricing model. So that's when we came up with a tiered system. So now we have three tiers to meet
Okay.
business owners at varying stages of their business. So we have a starter
Hmm.
tier, which is for people who are obviously starting out in their business, or people who maybe are not starting out in their business, but they are at a season in life and business where
Hmm.
they're just not in a space where they want to go all in. Okay. So we
Got it.
have that,
Hmm.
and that is $47 per month. And it's
Hmm.
priced that way for access, because we
Okay.
understand that not everybody who comes in is going to ascend into the other tiers. But we also understand that
Hmm.
our churn rate is very low, and so therefore
Mhm.
people stay. So we wanted that
Got it.
price point to be accessible where people can dream and motivate themselves for those higher tiers, but also be open to
Mhm.
keeping people who are just going to stay at that starter tier. Then we
Mhm.
have our lightly seasoned tier is for people who are not starters. They've been in the game for a minute. They are
Mhm.
relatively established business owners, right? And that is 147 per month. And that price point reflects where those people are at in their business as far as the kind of access that they want, the conversations that they want, the visibility that they want in their business.
Mhm.
Then we have fully flavored, which is $247 per month. And that is for people who
Mhm.
are established in their business. They are ready for those leadership conversations. They want to be in rooms where partnerships and collaborations are happening at a higher level. And so you can see the starter tier, there's a stark difference in price, right? We jumped from
Mhm.
47 all
Yeah.
the way to 147 to 247. And so that's why we've
Mhm.
done that.
Got it. I know it's interesting the way you have approached it, right? Because most founders of any new product or service tend to stick to what you said. They tend to stick to one product, one service, right? Like, and it's like even if you talk to GPT and any AI model, it will initially suggest you against going with the tier model, right? And it will always say, you need clarity in your offer, you need one offer, one product, like one pricing. um and as you said, right, initially you did start with single price model, right? So after how much time, or how much experience were you guys were like, okay, now we need to shift to tiered model?
I think it was what, like 2 or 3 months, Lace?
Yeah, yeah, 2 to 3 months in, we went tiered.
Yeah, and Ganesh, I want to comment on something you just said about, most founders stick with that one price model and then, you're advised not to do tiered. And the reason why I
Hmm.
want to comment on this is because people typically, when they have a tiered model or a membership type model, they are focused on just bringing in revenue from that model. We
Hmm.
said from the very beginning, the flavor
Hmm.
room is a gateway for other things.
Hmm.
So we are
Hmm.
not relying on just membership fees to create revenue. Okay,
Got it.
we have launched uh, other things inside the flavor room as well as outside of the flavor
Mhm.
room, high ticket and mid ticket,
Hmm.
which we have all created revenue from. So I think for anyone who's listening, it's food for thought.
Mhm.
You can really create your business any way you want to. Be
Mhm.
strategic. Don't be just like one sided with how you're thinking. There's tons of different ways to make money. And once you
Mhm.
have a community where people have buy in, they're going to buy
Mhm.
from you over and over. There's a lot of talk
Yeah.
about bringing in new people, but oftentimes we forget about the people who are already there.
Yes, yeah. Retention is the biggest game, right? Because if you cannot, retain your existing client, there is no meaning to adding newer clients to it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, so because you have done this whole exercise, right? Because that's what business is, right? It's just a money making exercise. Now, if you had to do it again, right? Would you cut
Mhm.
down the time that it took you from ideation to execution?
I mean, ideation to implementation was like 24 hours. So I don't know
Hmm.
if I wouldn't, there's nothing to cut down really. What I
Hmm.
would do, that's an interesting question because looking back on it, things unfolded the way they were supposed to unfold. So I don't really say if I would do anything differently, but I think maybe implementing that tiered system earlier on, like when we just
Hmm.
started, I probably would have done that. I would say making the positioning stronger, but again, there would be no way of creating the positioning stronger until we had actually gone out there and done it.
Yeah, yeah. But the reason I asked you that is, initially you said that you had thought of it a long time ago, and it was just like
Yeah.
let's do it
Well,
later kind of thing.
the reason I didn't mention that is because back then I don't think I would have been able to pull this off, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of capability or knowledge or anything like that, but I just wasn't at the point in my journey
Hmm.
where I had the balls to come out here and do something like this and not box myself
Hmm.
in to what everyone else was saying. So
Yeah.
it was just timing.
Hmm. So when you talk to people, right?
Hmm.
Let's say you are also in one of those networking events, right? Where
Hmm.
it's like round robin, as you said. Hello, guys. Can you introduce yourselves? Like it feels like kindergarten. Um,
Right.
in that scenario, right? And when you say that I run this thing for colored people, right? Do you
Hmm.
often find people raising eyebrows and saying, "What? Sorry, like what are you trying to do?"
Yes, of course. Well, honestly, I don't go to those networking things anymore because I don't have
Hmm.
to. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that has happened, and it's funny
Hmm.
because no one questions spaces that are all white. I mean, yes, they
Hmm.
don't say that it's all for just white people, but that's the
Yeah.
impression,
Hmm.
subconsciously, even with the marketing and the messaging. That is what's being
Yeah.
put out there. But when people of color want to create something, then, we're questioned about, oh, why are you leaving people out? You don't want to do that. It's going to hurt your money and, blah, blah, blah. And,
Hmm.
we have white people inside of the flavor room. So,
Yeah.
that's interesting as well.
Yeah. And it's in this kind of issues, it's often people with no stakes, right, that tend to comment a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Because people who can contribute just contribute, like they're not asking you questions, like interrogating you,
Yeah. That's true.
right?
Absolutely.
So once, right, and also it's like, at what point do you think you kind of stop caring about it?
Um, and I think it's only going to amplify the more that we grow.
Hmm.
We're
Yeah.
out here with you on this podcast. We're doing other
Hmm.
things, magazine features, digital TV, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's
Hmm.
only going to amplify the discomfort for certain types of people the more that the message of the flavor room is out there.
Hmm. Yeah. Like, okay, now that you have this network of people, right? Because you have a lot of people within this ecosystem, right? Um, what do you hope to achieve as this big ecosystem, that as it tends to grow, right? Because of course you're trying to grow, but once you grow,
Mhm.
what do you think is the, let's say, the final mission of this ecosystem?
Well, the foundation of this ecosystem is getting back to the basics of business: trust,
Hmm.
relationships, transparency,
Yeah.
all of which we do inside of the flavor room, and giving entrepreneurs of color the
Hmm.
permission, if you will, to
Hmm.
say, hey, you don't have to go to other people's tables begging for crumbs. You don't have to
Hmm.
seek their acceptance for them to, just put you on a flyer so they can say that they're diverse. No, you can
Hmm.
be seen not as the help, not as someone to be helped, but the
Yeah.
leader, the peer,
Yeah.
the equal
Hmm.
for what you
Yeah.
bring to the table.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it does ring like a sort of question within me, right, that I need to ask you. Um, because you have been doing this for some time, right? And
Hmm.
you know people of color and non-white people who are in the service industry, and like they are trying to do the best, right? And
Hmm.
at what point did you realize that just having the best service or the best offer doesn't matter? Like there are nuances to it, right?
I've always known it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just wake up being black, right? I grew up in a place that is predominantly white. And so
Mm-hmm.
I always knew what time it was when it came to that.
Hmm.
When
Yeah.
I came online, it was even worse because there was no longer an employee, or not employee, an
Mm-hmm.
employer for me to hide
Hmm.
behind, kind of be a little
Yeah.
bit of a buffer to that. It's out in the
Yeah.
open. And then when I was coaching clients, from different
Hmm.
places like Africa, and they're coming to me saying, no one's going to work with me because I'm African,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing that over and over, or I'm seeing, people from India, right?
Yeah.
Seeing
No, that has
people
happened with me.
yeah, people
Yeah.
who how people are talking about them online saying, oh, well, if you get
Yeah.
a message from someone from India or someone
Yeah.
from, Bangladesh or whatever, run. You don't want any
Yeah.
clients from those places. You don't want, they're all scammers. I mean, let's keep it
Yep.
real, because that is what the perception is. And we
Hmm.
know, okay, we can comfortably say in this forum, we know who carries that perception.
Yep.
And seeing that over and over. So that's why I was like, yeah, all this is adding up. And,
Yeah.
Lace, with her experience being a tech concierge in a VA, she's seeing it
Hmm.
too. How,
Hmm.
talented, brilliant people from the Philippines, right, or from
Yeah.
other Asian countries are
Hmm.
exploited. They don't want to
Massively.
Yeah.
hire VAs from the US. They don't want to hire VAs from the West. They want to hire the bottom dollar VA
Yep.
from the Philippines, because they know
Hmm.
that those people are in situations where they need
Hmm.
money to survive, and therefore they can be manipulated into, essentially taking scraps.
Hmm.
And I want to add,
God.
Ganesh, these are the same people that are going to say, oh, this is so sad, all these things that are happening in the world. Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
these people are racist. Oh, yuck. I can't believe that they're so intolerant. Peace and love. And then, Ganesh, they will come to India and practice yoga, right? They will practice yoga and they will
Yep.
appropriate, eons of culture, right?
Yes.
And never give any credit. So all
Yeah.
these things are
I
connected.
went through that. I agree. I went through that because once I was talking to a person and they said, "Oh, you're in India." I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, then how do you know social media?" I'm like, "Guys, there is something called as internet. Like, have you heard of it? Like, like we use the same thing, right?" And it was like India's biggest export is in IT services, and I'm like, so maybe I guess we have internet. Like that was very hilarious experience to me. But I understand the as you said, right, the nuances of layers of oppression or racism under it, right? It's just an undertone. Um, I have a question for Lace, right? You said that you worked as a VA, right? Or like how was that experience?
Yeah, it was it was interesting. It was fun to like create and build, because I have so much experience doing all the, the back end stuff, building websites, building funnels, messed about with emails, like all of that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. But once I got into it, I built myself to a four-figure income, so not massive, but for a single woman that was living in
Hmm.
a foreign country, that was, I felt good about it. But I quickly realized that perhaps this is not really for me. As much as I liked being in the background, or at least
Hmm.
thought I did, um, it really gave me the inside, like, sort of scoop on how people look at you when you're in that position. And I
Hmm.
think that's multiplied when you are someone of color.
Yeah.
So it was like I felt like I was being treated like the help. People had some kind of attitude
Hmm.
towards me. In
Yeah.
fact, there was a particular lady who positioned herself as a six-figure earning coach, and she really wanted to help me because she knew I'd been really sick in 2023, and we'd started talking around that
Hmm.
time. And she was like, "Oh, hey, when you're like better, I would love you to come on and help me." with X, Y, and Z. And I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, and if you're ever too ill to do it, it's fine. I'll pay you anyway. And you just come back and do the work when you're feeling great. So I thought, okay, well, this is an opportunity. I'd lost everything. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take it because I got to build back from zero. And this woman gaslit me. She actually got me to the point where I was like, I think I'm actually really crap at what I do. Maybe I should just
Mm-hmm.
quit. And
Yeah.
she made my life hard, but it wasn't just her being a difficult client, because at the end of it all, when she decided she wasn't going to pay me because it wasn't working out the way she wanted it to, and it couldn't because she was
Mm-hmm.
making my life so difficult to do the work, I was like, this can never work. It turned out that I was number 5 of a string of
Mm-hmm.
women of color that she had hired in these positions of help, and then done the same thing to stress them out, wound them up, made them sick, gaslit them, made them want to shut their businesses, and then refused to pay them. Now, that is not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my
Yeah.
experience as a VA. So it was great in many ways. I learned a lot of stuff, but also it kind of showed me the ugly underbelly of the wellness and spiritual industry. Taught me a lot. That was my real
Yeah.
education and what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. At what point did you realize that a lot of these people, right, who claim to be successful and who are like, like I got this, I'm an expert at, let's say, breathing, and they have never taken a breath, you know, like people who claim to be successful in their fields, but they are not actually.
It's everywhere, isn't it? You only have to go on social media for 5 minutes.
Yep.
And you start to just see through all of the bollocks that is just posted everywhere. But you have to kind of be seasoned to notice. Because I think when you're coming
Yeah.
new, brand new and shiny, maybe you've left your job, or maybe you've just had a baby and you're like, right, I'm ready to make some money, but I don't want to necessarily go back into the workplace. And you come into the online space and you see all of these screenshots of Stripe, and look at me, I'm making this much money and I'm a six-figure this, and you've got to make, you know, something with 4,000 zeros on the end of it, and that's how much I make, and look at me, look at me, look at me, and it's all these loud people shouting at you. It's very easy to go, oh wow, these people are really making it. Oh my gosh, I can do this
Yeah.
too. And it's not until a little bit longer down the line you really start to notice,
Yeah.
actually, one, nobody can prove any of this. They're all just talking out the butts.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's true.
Hmm.
And you start to see the
Yeah.
cracks. You're watching
Hmm.
people, you're seeing how they move, you're watching what they say, you're looking at their marketing, you're watching the pivots that they're making in their business. One minute they're billionaires and they're so happy and they can help you do it too if you buy the $27 course, and the next minute they're like,
Hmm.
oh well, now I'm selling insurance, I'm a wellness strategist, a wealth strategist, or now I'm selling essential oils, and they come with this. I just got kind of really sick of being so rich that I decided to, sort of peel it
Yeah.
back a bit. And it's like, something
Hmm.
is not adding up here.
Yep. And it's like it's also like there is this exclusive space of people, um, who try to kind of, I would say, manipulate people, right? They're like, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Hmm.
Well, guess what? You have not done that yourself yet,
Yeah.
right? And you're forcing other people to do something that even you have not done yourself, and you are kind of expediting them on this dangerous territory of, let's see what happens, right? Because that's the bottom line.
Yeah. You see that a lot.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think now you're seeing a lot of people doing experiments. They're selling you experiments. So maybe that makes them feel less bad about when it goes, south, where it doesn't work, because they're like, well, it was an
Yeah.
experiment.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
just paid me
I
for
mean,
it.
it's just same with even podcasting, right? Like every year, like the new year, you see so many new ones coming up, right? And they're like, like we have this good budget, we have lot of stuff going on, um, but it's like, okay, but can you survive for 2 years, right? Like, can you keep doing this for longer period of time? and they're not doing it, right? Let's say not even 8 months. I read a statistic that said if you have crossed, I think, 12 or 13 episodes, you have surpassed 80% of podcasts in the world, right? So it's like, you know,
You're on mute.
that's a big number.
Oh,
This was
I don't usually get excited about productivity tools, but Circle Back genuinely caught me off guard. I tested it in a few real meetings, and in one of them, the entire conversation was in Kannada, a local language here in India. To my surprise, Circle Back picked up the entire meeting and summarized it accurately. That's when I stopped and went, okay, this is different. I have also used it in meetings with people from US, Australia, Turkey, and India. Different accents, different speaking styles, and it handled all of it cleanly. The summaries don't just recap, they cut straight through BS and pull out what actually matters. What that's changed for me is simple. I am not taking notes anymore. I'm not stressing about missing decisions just in case something important comes up. It doesn't feel like a flashy AI tool. It feels like infrastructure, like a chief of staff for your meetings that remembers everything so you don't have to. If meetings are part of your work, this is worth trying. You can get a 30-day free trial at circleback.ai using the code SAPIENT. That is circleback.ai and use our code SAPIENT for a 30-day free trial.